Imagine a company taking the main camera sensor from last year's smartphone, physically shrinking it down so it captures way less light, and then dropping it into their brand new, highly anticipated Pro model.
Right, which sounds like a terrible idea on paper.
Exactly.
Mm.
And somehow, that new camera takes vastly superior photos. I mean, it sounds like a total contradiction, doesn't it? Today, we're looking at exactly how a company pulled that off.
It's honestly one of the most fascinating engineering magic tricks we've seen in mobile tech this year. But it also gets to the heart of this ultimate modern dilemma.
Oh, for sure.
You're holding your current phone, you're looking at the shiny new advertisements for a brand you love, and you just have to wonder, is this actually a massive leap forward, or is it just like incredibly clever marketing designed to part you from your hard-earned cash?
And that is exactly our mission for this deep dive.
Yeah.
Whether you're currently debating an upgrade, doing some heavy research for a friend, or you're just insanely curious about how consumer tech is evolving, right now, we are stripping away all the hype today.
We really are.
We're directly comparing the brand new Nothing Phone 4a Pro against its predecessor, the beloved 3a Pro.
And to get to the truth here, we're relying on a single, incredibly comprehensive source. We pulled our insights from a really detailed, hands-on unboxing and testing video from the YouTube channel Technology Giant.
Yeah, which is great because they didn't just, read off a corporate press release.
Exactly. They put this device through grueling, real-world paces to see what actually holds up.
So you're going to get the exact aha moments you need to understand this device without getting totally bogged down in those mind-numbing spec sheets. Okay, let's unpack this. The 4a Pro is not being pitched as just a minor incremental tweak, right?
Not at all.
The company presents it as a completely reimagined device that claims to fix practically everything that was holding the 3a Pro back.
Yeah.
But I really want to know if they actually delivered on that promise.
Well, the most honest place to start answering that is by just looking at the physical transformation of the device itself. I mean, the brand has fundamentally changed its entire design language.
Yeah, it's a huge shift.
If you remember the older 3a Pro, it had this very distinct circular camera module right on the back.
It was quirky.
Yeah, it was loud. It definitely stood out in a crowd.
It had a really unique identity. But with the 4a Pro, they completely ditched that signature circle. Now, there's this plateau-style camera layout, and honestly, when you watch the hands-on footage, it is impossible not to notice that it looks suspiciously similar to the camera layout on the iPhone 17 Pro series.
Oh, it really does.
It really seems like they're taking some heavy inspiration from Cupertino this time around.
The visual parallel is absolutely undeniable, but, the shift goes far deeper than just the shape of the camera bump. It's really about the structural materials. They've transitioned to a full metal unibody design.
Wow. Boy.
Yeah, we're talking about a continuous piece of aluminum forming the back and the frame. This is a massive departure from the plastic-heavy builds of the previous generation. Moving to aluminum gives the 4a Pro a significantly more solid, cold-to-the-touch, premium feel in the hand.
And the physical dimensions stood out to me, too. According to the scale in the test, it weighs in at exactly 210 grams. So it's not a featherweight that feels hollow, but it's not a heavy brick either.
Right, it feels deliberately balanced.
Exactly. But the craziest part is the thickness. It is just 7.95 millimeters thin. They somehow added a full metal jacket to this phone, but actually made it thinner than the older 3a Pro.
Which is a genuinely impressive feat of industrial engineering. And, of course, we can't talk about a Nothing phone without talking about their signature hardware feature, right? The Glyph interface.
Oh, yeah, those iconic LED light strips on the back.
Exactly.
The lights were huge and just scattered everywhere on the older models. But on the 4a Pro, they've evolved into something much more minimalist. They've consolidated the lights into a single, elegant circular area near the top.
Yeah, using 137 individual, customizable mini LEDs.
Right. And they've even bundled the software with 10 brand new ringtones that are specifically composed to match these new, tighter light patterns.
What's fascinating here is the psychological shift this physical design represents for the entire brand.
Oh, so?
Well, Nothing built its initial identity on being the transparent, slightly rebellious, almost cyberpunk alternative to mainstream, boring phones.
Yeah, the underdog vibe.
Exactly. But this deliberate shift to a minimalist LED setup, the sleek aluminum unibody, and that iPhone-esque camera bump, it shows them pivoting toward a much more universally acceptable, boardroom-ready, premium design language.
It's like someone trading in their loud neon college wardrobe for a tailored professional charcoal suit. Like they want to sit at the adult table now.
That's a perfect way to put it.
But hold on, I have to push back here. If they are upgrading the armor to full metal and aiming for this ultra-premium tier, why in the world does the 4A Pro only have an IP65 durability rating?
Yeah, that's the kicker.
I mean, the test footage pointed out that other phones in this exact price bracket are rocking IP68 or even IP69. If you're making a premium suit of armor, shouldn't it actually be fully waterproof?
That is a very sharp critique, and honestly, it's a glaring missed opportunity from the manufacturer. Let's break down what those numbers actually mean in the real world.
Yeah, please do.
So an IP65 rating means the phone is completely sealed against dust, and it can handle low-pressure water jets, like getting caught in a heavy rainstorm or maybe accidentally spilling a glass of water on it.
Okay.
But IP68 means the device is hermetically sealed enough to survive full submersion in deep water for an extended period. When a company pushes their price and marketing into premium territory, consumers rightfully expect full submersion protection as a baseline standard.
So the outside is gorgeous, it feels like a luxury item, but it is definitely still vulnerable to an accidental drop in the deep end of the pool.
Precisely. You do not want to take this phone swimming.
Good to know.
But, while having a premium metal shell is great for holding the device, a smartphone's true face is its screen. That's the component you interact with 99% of the time. The real test is whether the display technology matches this newly minted high-end exterior.
And this is where it really feels like the engineer sat down, read every single angry Reddit thread and YouTube comment from their fans, and actually took notes. Because the display upgrades, jumping from the 3A Pro to the 4A Pro, are massive.
They really are a generational leap. Let's establish the baseline first, though. The older 3A Pro had a full HD plus screen, and its brightness peaked at around 3,000 nits.
Which wasn't terrible, right?
No, not terrible for its time, but it certainly wasn't top tier.
Right. But the 4A Pro leaps to a massive 6.83-inch flexible AMOLED display. They bumped the resolution up to 1.5K. They gave it a buttery smooth 144 Hz refresh rate, perfectly symmetrical bezels all the way around the edges.
Yep, the symmetrical bezels look great.
And they upgraded the screen protection from the cheaper Panda Glass up to Corning's Gorilla Glass 7i. But the stat that actually made my jaw drop, it has a staggering 5,000 nits peak brightness.
Yeah.
With 1,600 nits for standard high brightness mode outdoors.
Those are undeniable, heavy-hitting hardware numbers.
But I have to ask, on behalf of everyone listening right now, for the uninitiated, what do these numbers actually mean? Like, is the average person going to notice a jump from 3,000 nits to 5,000 nits? Or notice a 144 Hz refresh rate? Or is this just a pure numbers game for tech nerds to argue about on internet forums?
It's a crucial question because smartphone companies absolutely love to use specs as vanity metrics.
All the time.
But in the case of screen brightness and refresh rate, these are intensely practical upgrades. Let's take the refresh rate first. 144 Hz means the screen is literally redrawing the image 144 times every single second.
Wow.
So when you are scrolling quickly through a long article or your social media feed, the text doesn't blur. It stays perfectly sharp and looks like physical paper sliding under glass.
Okay, so it just feels incredibly smooth and responsive. What about the 5,000 nits?
So nits measure luminance, basically. Raw light output. A jump to 5,000 nits fundamentally changes how you use your phone outdoors. Think about this. Have you ever tried to read a critical text message or frame a photo or look at Google Maps while standing in glaring direct noon sunlight and the screen just looks completely black?
Oh, all the time. You end up having to use your other hand to make a little shadow cave over the phone just to read a single text. It's ridiculous.
Exactly. A 5,000 nit peak brightness effectively eliminates the need for the shadow cave.
Nice.
The display has enough raw power to visually overpower the sun's glare reflecting off the glass. So yes, the average user will immediately notice that their phone is suddenly effortlessly usable at the beach or the park. It's a clear indicator that nothing is genuinely listening to its community's daily pain points and engineering actual solutions for them.
So the screen is undeniably bigger, it's vastly brighter, and it's sharper. But what we actually view on that gorgeous screen, specifically the photos we take, tells a much more confusing, almost contradictory story when you compare the raw spec sheet to reality.
This brings us back to that engineering magic trick we mentioned at the very start of the show.
Right.
This is perhaps the most counterintuitive part of the 4A Pro's entire evolution. If you just read the spec sheet blindly, the camera system looks like a severe downgrade from the older 3A Pro.
It really does. Let's look at the front of the phone first. The selfie camera on the old 3A Pro was a massive 50 megapixels. On the new 4A Pro, they actually dropped the resolution down to 32 megapixels.
Yeah.
And on the back, they feature a 50-megapixel periscope triple camera setup. But the real-world testing noticed that the actual physical size of that periscope sensor shrank. It went from 11.95-inch sensor on the older 3A Pro down to a noticeably smaller 12.75-inch sensor on the new 4A Pro.
And in traditional photography logic, physics dictates that a smaller sensor means less physical area to gather light.
Makes sense.
Right, and less light usually translates directly to noisier, darker, and generally worse photos.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Despite the physically smaller sensor on the back and the lower megapixel count on the front, the real-world test footage from technology giant proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that the 4A Pro takes drastically better photos than the 3A Pro.
Yeah, it's wild.
We're talking significantly more natural colors, much better dynamic contrast, and vastly improved tuning for complex human skin tones. How is that even possible? I mean, you can't just cheat physics, right? If the window letting light in is smaller, how are they faking a better photo?
Well, you're right. You can't cheat physics, but you can heavily supplement it with mathematics.
Okay.
What you're witnessing here is the absolute modern reality of smartphone photography. We have firmly crossed a threshold where computational photography and artificial intelligence matter vastly more than the raw physical size of the sensor.
Computational photography. Break the mechanics of that down for us a bit.
Sure, think of it this way. It's less like upgrading the physical glass camera lens and more like hiring a master Photoshop artist who lives incredibly fast inside the processor of your phone.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Right. When you press the shutter button on the 4A Pro, you aren't just opening a mechanical shutter to capture a single frame of light like an old film camera. The phone is instantaneously taking dozens of multiple exposures at different light levels.
All at once.
Practically, yeah. Then the internal processor, the brain of the phone, runs incredibly complex AI algorithms to analyze the scene pixel by pixel.
So it's literally rebuilding the image on the fly.
Exactly. It identifies that the top half of the image is the sky and actively makes it bluer. It finds human faces and perfectly balances the exposure and shadows on the skin tones. It sharpens the edges of buildings and adjusts the contrast of the shadows.
Wow.
So even though they gave this phone a slightly smaller physical sensor to capture light, nothing drastically upgraded the software algorithms. They're processing the raw image data so much more intelligently than they ever did on the 3A Pro.
It's like a chef using a smaller pan but somehow cooking a much better steak. The hardware shrank, but the software processing got massively better. The software brain behind the lens got vastly smarter.
Yeah, that's spot on.
Speaking of software tricks, the test footage also highlighted a feature. Nothing is calling the world's first 140x zoom. The reviewer had a pretty good laugh about this, joking that you could use it to zoom in and spy on what your relatives are doing inside their houses from miles away.
It's certainly a fun marketing gimmick to put on the box.
A gimmick, yeah.
And yes, achieving a 140x zoom relies entirely on that aggressive AI processing to try and artificially guess and paint in the missing pixels to sharpen an image from that extreme distance.
But it's not actually zooming optically that far.
No, it's ultimately just a gimmick. The actual detail, a 140x, is going to look very muddy and, frankly, like a watercolor painting upon close inspection.
Right, it's a phone, not a telescope. Yeah. But wait, if the processor inside this phone is supposedly getting so incredibly smart with AI, and it can magically rebuild still photos, why is it choking so hard on video recording? Because looking at the video specs, the spec sheet illusion turns into a very real, very frustrating problem.
Yes. The video limitations on the 4A Pro are severe, and they expose the limits of that processor.
Let's lay it out clearly. There is absolutely no 4K video recording available on the front-facing selfie camera. None. It completely maxes out at 1080p resolution at 60 frames per second.
Yeah, it's tough.
And on the rear camera, you can shoot in 4K, but it brutally maxes out at 30 frames per second. There is no buttery, smooth 4K 60 fps option available at all.
Which really raises an incredibly important question about what the word pro actually means in today's digital landscape.
Exactly.
We live in an era where vlogging, high-definition video calls, and social media content creation are primary everyday use cases for a premium device. Restricting the front camera to 1080p is a glaring oversight.
It feels like a massive step backward.
It is. Calling a phone a pro model while stripping away standard 4K selfie video is going to be incredibly frustrating for creators. The reality is that computational photography might be able to save still photos because it only has to process one image. But video requires processing 30 or 60 distinct images every single second. The processing power clearly hit a thermal or architectural wall when it came to applying those smart algorithms to high-resolution video frames in real time.
That makes perfect sense. They can fake one frame, but they can't fake 60 frames a second without literally melting the phone.
Exactly.
So let's look under the hood at the actual silicon they've packed into the 4A Pro to see exactly what this engine is capable of.
The engine room is where we see some substantial, highly pragmatic upgrades. The 4A Pro is powered by the Qualcomm Snapdragon 7 Gen 4 chipset.
And it's not just the processor getting a bump, they upgraded the internal storage technology too. The older 3A Pro was stuck using sluggish UFS 2.1 storage. The 4A Pro moves up to UFS 3.1,
Which is a nice jump.
and they beefed up the battery capacity,
Yeah.
taking it from 5,000 milliamp hours to a massive 5,400 milliamp hours.
Okay.
Plus, it supports 50-watt fast charging and even features 7.5-watt reverse wired charging.
That reverse charging is a genuinely great utility feature. It means you can actually plug a cable from your phone into your wireless earbuds case, or say, a friend's dying phone, and use your massive 5,400 milliamp battery as a power bank to rescue them.
That's incredibly handy in a pinch. Now, the test footage threw out a ton of benchmark jargon. They mentioned an AnTuTu score of over 1.43 million. What does that actually mean to someone using this phone on a random Tuesday afternoon?
Well, benchmarks like AnTuTu are essentially stress tests that assign a numerical score to the phone's maximum computational horsepower. A score of 1.43 million tells us that this is a highly respectable upper mid-range performer,
Okay.
but it's honestly much better to ground that number in actual applications, specifically gaming.
Right, the real-world metrics from the video were actually rock solid. Campbell's Battlegrounds, Mobile India, BGMI at a locked, buttery smooth 120 frames per second. The sustained test averaged 115.4 fps.
That's fantastic.
And crucially, while rendering all those frames, the phone maintained a stable internal temperature of just 36 degrees Celsius. It also ran Genshin Impact, which is a notoriously massive, graphically demanding open-world game at a highly playable 58.5 frames per second.
Maintaining 36 degrees while pushing nearly 120 frames per second is phenomenal thermal management.
Yeah, 36 is barely warm.
Right. It means the phone won't burn your hands or suddenly throttle and stutter during a really long gaming session. And all of this hardware is running on Nothing OS 4.1, which is built on top of the brand new Android 16.
And the software experience is clean.
Remarkably clean. It's crucial to note that Nothing OS comes with absolutely zero bloatware.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, there are no pre-installed third-party junk apps or sketchy games that you can't delete taking up your storage. Plus, it includes modern system-level AI integrations like Google's Gemini Assistant and the highly intuitive circle-to-search feature right out of the box.
Very cool.
And they're officially promising 3 years of major OS updates and 4 years of vital security patches.
It sounds like a beautifully optimized powerhouse on paper. But I have to throw a flag on the play regarding that storage upgrade.
Oh.
Okay, I understand that moving from UFS 2.1 to UFS 3.1 is basically like widening the data highway inside the phone. Apps will snap open faster, saving a long 4K video will take seconds instead of minutes. It's a welcome improvement.
Sure.
But other smartphone brands playing at this new premium price point are already offering the drastically faster UFS 4.0 storage. Are they shortchanging us by using last year's highway?
It's a completely fair critique. At a certain premium price point, consumers naturally expect the absolute latest standard in every category.
Exactly.
However, we have to look at the broader hardware architecture here. The Snapdragon 7 Gen 4 is fundamentally engineered as a balanced chipset. Yeah, it is not designed to be a raw, unlimited powerhouse that breaks benchmark world records against the ultra-expensive flagship Snapdragon 8 series chips.
So it's built like a reliable daily commuter car, not a specialized drag racing engine.
Precisely. It's designed for extreme stability, exceptional thermal management, which is exactly why it only hit 36 degrees during intense gaming, and reliable all-day multitasking battery efficiency.
Right.
So pairing a balanced chip like that with UFS 3.1 storage instead of 4.0 is a highly calculated engineering compromise. UFS 3.1 provides excellent, snappy day-to-day speed without unnecessarily inflating the manufacturing cost for peak storage performance that the processor might not even be able to fully utilize anyway.
Okay, that makes sense. But speaking of storage compromises, there is one massive blinking red warning from the test footage that you absolutely need to know if you were thinking about buying this phone.
Yes.
4A Pro completely removed the SD card slot. You cannot expand the storage yourself.
Yeah.
And the base model they advertised the cheapest price for, it comes with just 128 gigabytes of internal storage.
That is a critical detail for buyers to be aware of. In the modern era of high-resolution computational photography, large offline Spotify playlists, and massive 20-gigabyte game app sizes, 128 gigabytes will fill up astonishingly fast.
Buying that base model is incredibly risky. You're almost forced to pay more money up front for the 256-gigabyte version just to future-proof the device so it lasts you those promised 3 years of updates.
Yeah, it's an upsell tactic for sure.
And that brings us directly to the elephant in the room.
Mm.
We've seen that almost every single major aspect, the aluminum build, the ridiculously bright 5,000 nit screen, the smarter AI cameras, the bigger 5,400 mAh battery, the stable gaming performance, it's all been leveled up.
Massively.
But nothing expects you to pay handsomely for this glow-up. Let's talk about the premium pivot.
This is undoubtedly the single most shocking difference between the two generations.
It really is. Let's wind the clock back for a second. The Nothing Phone 3A Pro was famous for being a scrappy budget champion. It launched well under the 30,000 Indian rupee mark. It was highly accessible to a huge audience. But the 4A Pro, it starts at an MSRP of 39,999 INR. Now, the unboxing video notes that with specific bank offers and launch discounts, you might temporarily get it down to around 34,999, but effectively, they have positioned this device just under the 40,000 INR line.
That is a staggering 10,000 rupee jump in a single hardware generation.
Huge.
That is a roughly 33% price increase. That's not just standard yearly inflation. That is a complete, deliberate repositioning of their entire product line.
The review offered some solid context for why the price spiked so violently, though. They cited ongoing global chip shortages, the rising global market prices for RAM components, and the massive integration costs for all those new AI features.
Yeah, running large AI models like Gemini locally on a device requires more physical RAM and more expensive licensing agreements.
But let's be real. I want to ask you, the listener, so what does this all mean for you? And to our expert, even factoring in the reality of global chip shortages and AI licensing, a 10,000 rupee leap is huge. Does this phone actually justify crossing that psychological price barrier and leaving its lovable budget roots behind to enter premium territory?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to look at the sum of its parts and how they fundamentally change the user experience. Yes, the missing features sting.
Definitely.
The lack of an IP68 waterproof rating and the baffling absence of 4K selfie video are bitter pills to swallow when you're paying nearly 40,000 rupees. Those are entirely valid reasons to hesitate or look at competitors.
Sure.
However, when you evaluate the daily, tangible usability of the device, the premium cold metal feel of the aluminum unibody, the absolute brilliance of being able to read that 5,000 nit display in direct sunlight, the remarkably stable and cool gaming performance, the expanded battery life, and the genuinely smart computational photography that rescues your photos. I mean, the 4A Pro is undeniably a 100% functional upgrade over the 3A Pro.
It's just a completely different class of device now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is no longer a budget alternative that you buy just because you can't afford a flagship. It demands to be judged as a premium device in its own right, and for the most part, the engineering earns that title.
So to quickly recap our journey today, Nothing looked closely at the 3A Pro. They clearly listened to all the community complaints about plastic builds and dim screens, and they went to work.
They really
They
did.
slapped on a gorgeous metal frame, they installed a brilliantly brighter screen, they dropped in a bigger battery, and they made the software brains behind the cameras vastly smarter. But to pay for all that premium refinement, they had to slap a much, much bigger price tag on it too.
And that reality leaves us with something much deeper to ponder.
What's that?
Well, when a scrappy, fan-favorite brand built entirely on being a transparent budget disruptor finally listens to all of our feedback and builds the exact premium, no-compromise phone we asked for, they inevitably have to charge premium prices to manufacture it. So it raises a fascinating question. Does giving the fans exactly what they want actually risk destroying the underdog identity that made us love the brand in the first place?
Wow. That is the ultimate catch-22 for a tech company, isn't it?
It really is.
You succeed just enough to make the perfect phone, and suddenly you become the very expensive establishment you were originally trying to disrupt. It definitely makes you look at that shiny new phone in your hand a little differently, doesn't it?
For sure.
Well, whether this device represents a massive leap forward for you or just a clever evolution with a steeper price tag, we hope this deep dive helped clear the muddy waters for you. Keep questioning the tech you use every day, keep demanding better from these brands, and thank you so much for taking this deep dive with us.